You know about the top of the class, but what about the day two diamonds? I'm Phil Milani alongside Eric Dalala. Eric, with the Broncos having 4 picks on day two, let's go over a couple of wide receivers the Broncos might look to in either rounds 2 or 3. Let's start with a local guy here in Colorado, LaVista Chennault.
Yeah, and LaVista, Phil, is a guy that I think coming into the 2019 season had first-round potential, and a lot of people said, hey, if the Broncos are going to pick in the teens, he might be their guy there. Unfortunately, LaVista didn't quite have the 2019 season that he did in 2018 when he had over 1,000 yards, 16 touchdowns. This year, struggled with some injuries, wasn't able to stay on the field consistently, and that's kind of the knock on him right now that has dropped him to probably the second round is, can this guy stay healthy?
One of his strong points is his physicality, so that's something to pay attention to and be wary for NFL teams. But I think on the positive side with LaVista, he's a big guy who's able to use his versatility in a lot of different ways to make plays down the field, and he can also be versatile in that backfield, taking some end arounds or even playing some wildcat. Eric, let's move on to another guy who a lot of people have projected at the end of the first round, and that's the former Clemson wide receiver, T. Higgins.
Yeah, Higgins, another physical receiver, though not really known as a great run blocker. But what he does have is that extreme catch radius. Trevor Lawrence threw it up pretty much anywhere, and this guy Higgins is going to come get it. Led the team in touchdowns the last couple of years, has been really impressive. But I think relies on his athleticism so much that route running probably needs to improve here, Phil, for him to be a successful NFL guy.
Yeah, he was the number 2 wide receiver coming out of high school, 1 position ahead of Jerry Jeudy. Long guy, can make plays down the field, as you can see in the highlights, but maybe he could fill out that frame a little bit. It'll be interesting to see if he can do that, getting into an NFL weight room and working on a program with other pro guys. Erica, let's continue our list of day 2 diamonds here with a guy who really emerged in the Pac-12 last season at Arizona State, and that is Brandon Aiyuk.
Yeah, Phil, I love this guy. He's got the speed that you want, and if Henry Ruggs isn't the guy that's available, Aiyuk might be. He does, have some impressive yards after the catch, kind of like a CeeDee Lamb type player. And, the Athletic just came out with this nice ranking of all these receivers. Aiyuk gets compared to Emmanuel Sanders, who we've already seen fit in nicely in the Broncos offense. We know he complements Courtland Sutton well. So could Aiyuk be a similar type player? Went from JUCO to Arizona State in this past year, more than 1,200 yards.
Yeah, a lot of people have him moving up draft boards, or at least they did. But this week it was reported that he had core muscle surgery, so it'll be interesting to see if that affects anything. With all of the off-season programs being adjusted now, he went ahead and had that surgery reportedly. So let's continue with KJ Hamler. I know that you wrote a little bit about him on a story on DenverBroncos.com.
Yeah, I took a look at him, Aiyuk, and then Michael Pittman from USC. And Hamler's a guy I know you're a little concerned about his size, Phil. He's just 5'8", but he has that speed, that Ruggs-esque speed, can make catches in traffic for his size, and, a special teams contributor who maybe can – I know that Deontay Spencer did quite a nice job, but maybe he adds another element to that return game. The issue, though, is can he stand up to the beating that an NFL season gives you? If he can, whether it's in jet sweeps or something like that, he could be pretty explosive.
Eric, technically 5'8.5".
Got it.
And when you're that size, you got to take every half inch you can get. So a lot of people say, okay, these smaller guys, well, they've been small their whole life, so they know how to handle themselves. But the problem is they haven't been playing in the NFL their whole life. So
these safeties and linebackers, they've been big their whole lives. So
exactly. And a guy like Hamler really relies on his shiftiness, his explosiveness. He can do that at the college level. But when you got guys who are like maybe 30 pounds, 40 pounds heavier than you are, and they can move just as fast as you can, then that's how you get into a little bit of trouble. Let's wrap up our day 2 diamond list with Jalen Rader, the former wide receiver from TCU.
Yeah, Phil, a couple Big 12 players that, could potentially be there at the end of the first round, early in the second round, Rager and Denzel Mims. With Rager, he's a guy that, again, not that elite speed, ran a 4.47 at the combine, contributes in the return game as well. Nice player that I think people have kind of linked the Broncos to. One thing to watch out for both him and Hamler is drops last season. Rager had 8 in 2019, and Hamler led the nation in drops. So, we hear the boo birds at the first sign of trouble sometimes at Empower Field at Mile High. Something to keep in mind there.
Yeah, and coming from a Big 12 offense, you expect them to just put up these Star Wars numbers. I think that just because this year's draft class is so deep, it's pushing some of these guys who normally would be first-round picks into the second round. Jalen Rager, definitely in that category, in my opinion, could be linked to the Broncos in a couple of these mock drafts. Could be a nice pick for the Broncos in round number 2. The Broncos 4 picks on day 2. It'll be interesting to see how they package some of those. Maybe they'll move up. Maybe they'll use all of them. Definitely something to pay attention to. Eric, any other names you want to mention, or are we good? We covered everybody?
I think that's good. What are like the really deep diamonds, the ones from rounds 4 to 7? What do we call those?
You got to go elsewhere for that kind of information.
I
can only do so much research here working at home in the lab.
Right. That makes sense.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, that's our look at some of maybe the second wave of wide receivers, you can call them. I prefer to call them day 2 diamonds. For Eric Dalala, I'm Phil Milan.